Hi, my name is Maddie Liggett, and I am doing an assignment that is talking about a reading program and how it relates to the brain. It's analysis of a reading program. So first I want to start out with some characteristics about how the brain learns. So first of all, when reading, there are three neural systems that work together. The first one is visual processing. Visual processing is when the system scans the printed words. So when the reader is looking at the words, he's just seeing what is printed. It's all visual. Then the auditory processing system goes off and they're able to sound out the words in their head. Next, the frontal lobe integrates the information to produce meaning. So all three of those systems working together help the student read, and that's what happens when a student begins to read. Another really interesting characteristic or a fact about how kids learn to read, or anybody in general, the native dialect or the language can significantly increase or decrease a child's ability to read and comprehend a text. So if they come to school with a mental dictionary from their home language, it's hard for them to decode in English on a printed page in a book. So their vocabulary is a lot weaker than an English-speaking student, thus having a harder time reading, not just decoding, but reading for comprehension and meaning, which is what we want students to do in the end. Another characteristic is when learning to read, the visual and auditory processing systems work at similar speeds to decode letters into sounds. With that being said, if one is stronger than the other, especially poor readers, some of them may have a slower than normal auditory processing speed. This can mean that they're not able to catch up the same speed for each processing skill, so they lack in decoding skills just because of a slower system on that side. Also, really good reading programs consist of phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. So that was what I was looking for in my reading analysis. So I'm going to move on now. The reading program that I'm going to be talking about is Journeys. It's used in quite a few districts. I've talked to a lot of teachers who use it, some with Fidelity, some with not. My school has not in the past used it with Fidelity, but this year we are. So it is Journeys, first grade, hardcourt, and it's the newer version, so it was 2016. So my background with the program, I've used it for 3 years now, and it hasn't been used with Fidelity, but we use the big pieces of the program. So I have a lot of experience with the phonemic awareness pieces, the phonics, the progression in which the phonics goes, fluency, the anchor text, small group instruction, vocabulary, read alouds, all of those things I'll be talking about, and I have experience with them in the Journeys reading program. So what we know about Journeys and the brain. So Journeys has those key components that Sousa explains explicitly in his book, that's what makes a good reading program. Now, if we think about the brain and all the parts of the brain, we think about novelty and how we want students to be engaged. This book, Journeys, this program, has a lot of strategies that cater to both hemispheres. So males and females can benefit from many of the strategies. For example, phonics. So phonics in Journeys is visual, auditory, and tactile, writing it out, sounding it out, saying it, a lot of things going on. They're able to see the word, spell the word, think of the word, a lot of strategies go along with that, along with small group instruction and specific strategies for various students. So if we think about individualized instruction. They have various leveled readers and lessons and strategies for each of those levels. So each student has a more personalized approach to a reading structure. Also, with going with the brain, there's a lot of really great stories in Journeys that are well known, and kids seem to enjoy them, and they can make a connection with them, which is another thing we know that the brain needs. We have the two questions, so does it make sense to me, and does it have meaning? And meaning's more important because you can connect and you would remember it more. So a lot of the stories, such as Kids at School, Curious George, things like that, the students really connect with those, and they're able to make more comprehension connections from reading the stories. I think that Journeys, that was one of Journeys' more pointed out strategies, or it's just the stories that are within Journeys are well planned out. It seems as though there was a lot of thought process of how students would make connections. They can also make connections with their phonics skills and their high frequency words that are used daily in those stories. So my major findings, I think that Journeys is a good program, but I also think that if you follow it with fidelity, it won't be as successful because it needs more. It needs more of, I don't want to say engagement because there's really good strategies, but more of the teacher input and making it work for their students. So sometimes the skill doesn't necessarily match the standard. That's been an issue that we've seen. It's hard to connect that skill to that certain text. But otherwise, the key components of a good reading program are in there, and it's a good program to follow for those to keep you on track. So there's a phonemic awareness, a phonics, high frequency, sight words, anchor text, supporting text that goes along with that in small group, and strategies, and weekly tests, quizzes, and what to do if students aren't succeeding. However, I have looked at the phonics over the past years, and I'm wondering if their progression of phonics skills is the best way to teach reading. That's what I would really like to research more. I have had students really struggle with making benchmark with the DIBELS assessment after using the Journeys phonics skills, because it doesn't seem to give them enough push. It stays on short vowels for a very long time, so I'd like to see the research on that, but the key components are there, and I think Journeys is a well thought out program based on the brain research and Susa's input. Thank you.